I think as we get into the next 2 or 3 weeks, it's going to be unmistakable what's happening around the country, and we're going to have to start taking tough steps. I don't think we're going to lock down like Europe is right now, and Europe has a very dense epidemic. There's a very worrisome trend underway in Europe.
Europe didn't think they were going to lock down either, and now
that is true, but I don't think the political support is here for that, even at a state level. I think you're going to see targeted mitigation. States take local actions, but we're going to have to start taking more aggressive actions. Probably my view is the inflection point is going to be Thanksgiving. You're going to see cases build over the next 3 weeks, and December is really going to be the slow month. But I think it's going to be unmistakable what's happening at that point, and we're going to be forced to, because the hospital systems are going to become pressed again.
Regardless of what happens in this election, the president is still the president until at least January. If he wins, he owns this through a second term. What does he need to be focused on?
I think he needs to be focused on providing resources to states. They have to get a stimulus passed. They've got to get funding out to states to try to deal with this. I think we need to focus on what we're going to prioritize in terms of trying to keep things open and get things open after we're through this, particularly the schools. We're going to need to support states that have to take that targeted action, try to get compliance with things like masks. So I think the bully pulpit is very important. The national leadership trying to galvanize collective action to try to reduce the spread. You're right. Once we ensue with this over the next 2 months, this is largely going to play out over the next 2 months. By the time a president is re-inaugurated in January, whoever that is, we'll probably be through the most acute phase of this and be coming down the epidemic curve. So this is really going to play out under the president's leadership. What he does over the next 2 months is going to be very important.
So Joe Biden, I know you've looked at his plan. If he wins, he comes in at a period of time in January where we might be on the downward slope here. What needs to happen in that November, January timeframe, regardless of who is president? And are we in a scenario where Congress just, none of what you're saying needs to be done gets done? I mean, what does that look like?
Well, look, the vice president's talked about trying to get testing out more accessible to consumers. I think that's going to be very important. I think at that point we should be trying to prioritize open schools in the late winter or early spring. We're going to have an opportunity to do that.
Close again.
I do not think so. I think schools that are open right now might be able to find ways to stay open. I think schools that are closed right now, we have to prioritize trying to get them open. There's a lot of evidence now that the schools can be safely open if they take prudent steps. That should be our number one priority. I think if Biden were to come in, that should be a focus, trying to get targeted resources, proper PPE to teachers, testing in schools that can't use social distancing, trying to get those resources into schools so schools can open. Also reporting on what the collective experience has been. If you can put out more